Shabbat Shalom, everybody. This week we begin a new book of Torah, Leviticus. And in our Torah portion, Vayikra, we learn about the animal sacrifices that our ancestors used to offer up to the divine as a way to connect to the divine presence and as a way to create sacred community. Now, today we do not make these same animal sacrifices, but we do strive to create sacred community. And during this pandemic, during this very challenging time, it is so important to be thinking about creating this sacred community, what we can do right now to add brightness and add holiness to our community and to the lives of those who we love and care about. And one of the ways that we can do this right now is if we are able to, and if we are in the position where it is best, then we stay home. And that is considered to be holy, because it is a way for us to honor the lives of others and the safety and the health of others as well as ourselves. Now, this week, I saw a couple different examples of people trying to create sacred community in their own ways. And one of the things I saw, I was going for a walk, and I saw on the sidewalk and on the driveways that children had colored in chalk different inspirational messages to try to bring positivity to the community during this time. And some of the messages they wrote were things like, wash your hands, and listen to your parents, be a good brother, be a good sister. And they drew hearts and rainbows and stars. And it was very uplifting for anyone who walks by or anyone who runs by to see this and know that somebody made those drawings to make them smile. And on that same note, I know that there are children in our community who have been making cards for people who are sick and taking pictures of the cards and having their parents send it to people who work at hospitals so that they could show the people who are sick these nice cards that the children have made. And that's just one way that they can show them that they're thinking of them and do the mitzvah of Bikor Cholim, and be there for those who are ill. And one more positive story I heard this week about those trying to build sacred community was that a family was trying to celebrate Shabbat. This was toward the end of last week, actually, and they were needing to make challah, and that was something that they wanted to do. They were sick at home, but they still wanted to make challah for Shabbat. And so they realized that the store was out of flour because they were going to get their groceries delivered and they couldn't get any flour. So they went onto Facebook and they posted in their neighbors group asking if anyone had flour so that they could make a Shabbat dinner and they could bake that challah for their Shabbat dinner because they were homesick. And they were just so heartwarmed by all of the responses they got from their neighbors saying that they would actually bake the challah for them and they would bring wine and they would make them dinner. And they were just so touched by this act of kindness. And they actually wrote back and said, that is so sweet. We really appreciate this gesture, but we're really looking forward to baking that challah at home, and that would just be so great if we could have that flour, if that's all we really need. And so they did find on their doorstep the next day that they found some flour that somebody had left, a new batch of flour for them. And they also received a message saying that this family who left the flour for them would continue to check in on them and make sure that they had everything they needed during this time. And that really touched their hearts. And I think that it touches all of our hearts when we know that people care about us and people are thinking about us. There are so many ways to show that right now, whether it's a phone call, an email, whether it's getting involved in a virtual opportunity like a service or a class, and just joining that sacred community, making sure that nobody feels alone right now. We can all add to that, and we can all add our brightness and light to create this sacred community that our ancestors strive to create, and we too continue to strive to create. So I'd like to wish everybody a Shabbat Shalom. I hope that you have a peaceful weekend, and I hope that everybody stays safe and does their best to stay healthy and to add that light and that brightness to our community when we need it most. Shabbat Shalom.